Imagine finding out your mother told a friend you were away on a shagging weekend. Now imagine that friend is a convicted pedophile. It feels like an egregious breach of trust, but this is precisely the level of humiliation Princess Eugenie had to endure when 3 million new Epstein files were released last week for all the world.
The royal row. Princess Eugenie's reportedly severed contact with her father, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and it's understood she did not pay him a visit at Christmas and is refusing to speak to him.
What a liar, you know, and his ex-wife Sarah's lying too.
I just can't get my head around taking your teenage daughter to meet the pedo.
Well, they knew him quite well. He'd attended their birthday parties, you know, and it's very sad the way that Beatrice and Eugenie have been dragged into his orbit by their parents.
For years, the focus has been on Prince Andrew's fall from grace and his infamous friendship with Epstein. But now, the Epstein files have pulled back the curtain on something the world never expected. Newly released emails reveal that Jeffrey Epstein secretly bankrolled Sarah Ferguson for 15 years, starting the very year she divorced Andrew. Money flowed to her, and all her debts were paid. However, the most disturbing revelations involve her daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, who were teenagers at the time. In a shocking twist, Meghan Markle, of all people, has revealed that the two daughters were taken by their mother to have lunch with Epstein just 5 days after his release from prison for sex crimes. And according to Meghan, these emails show Ferguson's assistant asking Epstein to pay for their flights, first class for her and business class for her girls. So now the whole world is wondering whether or not the princesses knew what their mother and father were involved in, and if they did, what did Beatrice and Eugenie see, and who decided it should keep them quiet all these years? So join me today as we examine Andrew and Sarah Ferguson's infamous entanglement with Epstein, the financial support he gave them, their secret lunches on his island, and the emails that expose a web of proximity that has finally, after all these years, been dragged into the light.
While recognizing that they were adults, his daughters, when they got on an airplane with their mother to visit the convicted offender shortly after he was released from jail. A lot of questionable decision-making happening within this family.
To understand how we got here, you have to go back to the version of this story we were all given. The official version that some are now saying may have been a lie. So, a couple of years ago, after her divorce from Prince Andrew, Sarah Ferguson was reportedly financially desperate. This was a woman who had made catastrophically poor decisions about the company she kept. But here is the thing, despite her public humiliation, her daughters, Eugenie and Beatrice, were still royals who were respected all over. And according to new leaked emails from Epstein's estate, documents show Sarah seemingly decided to exploit this fact for her benefit. These new emails describe something that was allegedly structured to begin when Princess Eugenie was still a teenager. Get this, according to leaked correspondence connected to Epstein's estate, Eugenie was not simply introduced to Epstein's world the way a naive young woman stumbles into the wrong crowd. She was allegedly brought in by her parents. Now, think about what that means. This is not a story about a teenager sneaking into spaces she shouldn't have been. This is allegedly a story about a teenager being handed access to those spaces by the adults who were supposed to be her protection. And the reason she was valuable, especially to her mother, was the one thing she had that nobody else in his circle could replicate. You see, Eugene's royal title is not just a name. It is a signal that communicates safety, legitimacy, and prestige. Now, the emails don't lie, and what they reveal isn't just a mother's bad judgment, it's a pattern, a timeline. You see, on July 27, 2009, Jeffrey Epstein walked out of a Florida jail.
A few steps, a smile, and a wave to the deputy at the door. We watched Jeffrey Epstein walk out of jail, but only his attorneys heard from him.
He's very happy that his jail sentence is over and he can begin a new chapter in his life.
The last chapter took place behind bars. Epstein served 13 months of an 18-month sentence. Jail time followed court time when last June, Epstein pleaded guilty to procuring a minor for prostitution and solicitation.
He'd served 13 months of an 18-month sentence, which many considered to be a sweetheart deal, brokered quietly, that prosecutors would later call a betrayal of his victims. Now, exactly 5 days after his release, Sarah Ferguson was already writing writing to him. What address shall we come to? It will be myself, Beatrice, and Eugenie. Are we having lunch? Now, kindly note the language Sarah uses. Are we having lunch? That infamous day, Sarah brought her daughters to sit across the table from a convicted offender. Beatrice was 21, Eugenie was 19, and according to records, Epstein may have picked up the $14,000 tab for their flights. Ferguson didn't write to a friend. She wrote like someone who'd been saved. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. In just 1 week after your lunch, it seems the energy has lifted. I have never been more touched by a friend's kindness than your compliment to me in front of my girls. Thank you, Jeffrey, for being the brother I have always wished for. Now, after reading that, you have to ask yourself, what does that really mean? And what type of energy was lifted? And why did it take Jeffrey Epstein to lift it? Here's what we know about where Beatrice and Eugenie were in their lives at that moment. They were young women trying to carve out identities completely separate from a royal family that had never fully claimed them. Their father, Prince Andrew, was already moving deeper into Epstein's circle. Their mother was drowning in debt, publicly humiliated, financially dependent on a system that had cast her out. They didn't choose any of that. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams has been unusually direct about what he believes was happening. He said the princesses were used as bait by Fergie so Epstein could help her get out of debt. Now, if Fitzwilliams is right and the emails support him, then what we're really looking at is a predator who didn't just exploit young girls, but trap them. He also used the daughters of a duchess to legitimize himself, to look respectable, to stay connected to the highest levels of British society. A photo with a princess is worth more than money. It's basically protection. Anyway, after that day, the emails kept coming over the next couple of months. Ferguson's language doesn't cool down. If anything, it escalates and get weird. You are a legend. I really don't have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness. I am at your service. Just marry me. Read that again. I am at your service. This is the mother of 2 young women, writing to a man whose crimes were already a matter of public record, and she is offering herself in whatever sense that means completely. Then comes the email that frankly has no innocent explanation. March 2010. Eugenie is 19 at the time, and someone, almost certainly Ferguson, writes to Epstein, just waiting for Eugenie to come back from a shagging weekend. This is a mother describing her daughter's intimate life to Jeffrey Epstein. Why? Why does he need to know that? Why is that information relevant to anything? Unless, and this is the question royal commentators are now asking openly, Eugenie's availability was relevant to something. Now I must stress, none of this proves the princesses committed any crime. Let's be absolutely clear about that. Being in someone's orbit is not consent. Being young and trusting the adults around you is not complicity. Eugenie and Beatrice were, by every account, navigating a world their parents built and a relationship their parents chose. But here is what does demand an answer. These emails existed for 16 years. The Epstein case broke open in 2019. His death, which some have called convenient, came months later. And the Maxwell trial in 2021 names, surfaced documents, and changed everything we thought we knew. And still, for 16 years, these specific emails, this specific lunch, this specific paper trail involving 2 British princesses stayed buried. Now, if there is something we all know in this world, is that power protects power. The royal family has survived scandals that would have destroyed anyone without a crown. Andrew kept his titles for years after Virginia Giuffre's accusations became front-page news. Ferguson kept her TV deals and her public platform. And Beatrice and Eugenie, genuinely, possibly the most sympathetic figures in this entire story, are left holding a legacy they didn't build, defending a reputation they didn't earn, and staying silent about things they may have seen with their own eyes. So here's what the evidence does tell us. 2 young women were brought into Jeffrey Epstein's world by the adults who were supposed to protect them. Their mother wrote to him like he was family. Their father spent years in his orbit. And somewhere in that world, they sat across tables, attended lunches, and existed inside a network that the rest of us are only now beginning to understand. They didn't choose that. But for 16 years, the emails that put them in that room stayed buried. The documents that showed their mother calling Epstein brother stayed sealed. The paper trail that followed the money stayed hidden. And you have to ask yourself who decided that, because it wasn't Eugenie, it wasn't Beatrice, it wasn't Epstein's victims, who have been fighting for recognition since before most people knew his name. The people who buried this story had power, had access, had every reason to keep it quiet, and every institution behind behind them to make sure it stayed that way? That's the real scandal. Not just what happened in those rooms, but who spent 16 years making sure we never found out. The monarchy has survived abdications, divorces, and wars. It survives because it controls the narrative, because silence for them is not a failure, it's a strategy. But strategies have expiration dates. The emails exist, the lunch happened, the money moved, and the women who were placed in that world as children, who are now adults with voices and choices of their own, have said nothing publicly. Maybe they're protecting themselves, maybe they're protecting the institution, maybe they were told to, or maybe, and this is what keeps me up at night, maybe nobody has ever actually asked them, not in a courtroom, not under oath, not in a way that made silence impossible. That day may still be coming. And when it does, if it does, the question won't be what Sarah Ferguson wrote in an email 15 years ago. The question will be what her daughters remembered, what they saw, and whether the institution that used them to protect itself will finally be forced to answer for it. For the victims who never had a palace to hide behind, we owe them that much. The question was never whether Sarah Ferguson made terrible choices. The question now is, what did her daughters see? What do they know? And after 16 years of silence, are they finally ready to talk? Let me know your opinions in the comments. Until next time, bye.